Good morning or good afternoon to those of you joining us from elsewhere. My name is Astrid Sutherland, and I'm the Director of E-commerce here at Visionnet. I'm going to be your host and moderator for today's event. So very excited to see so many of you joining us here. It's going to be a full packed hour here in front of us with the phenomenal panel that you see here to the left on the screen that I'm going to be introducing to you shortly. Just a couple of housekeeping remarks as a start. So this is an hour-long webinar just for connectivity and speed purposes. If we can ask everyone to keep their cameras off, that would facilitate. Also, we're going to be opening up for a Q&A session at the very end, so please keep your questions on hand and ready for that. We will also be offering a 2-hour free workshop, so stay tuned for more details on that as we go along during the webinar. So I'm going to start by introducing our panel to you. First of all, we have Michelle Grant, who's Director of Strategy and Insights, Retail and Consumer Goods at Salesforce. Hi, Michelle. Very warm welcome to you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great. And then we have Will Vinton, who is our Head of Digital Consulting here at Visionnet. Very warm welcome to you, Will.
Thanks, Astrid. Happy February, month of love, I guess. Is that what it is? Month of love. Valentine's Day, at least, coming up in a couple of weeks. So don't forget, get your significant other something.
That's right, February. So yeah, getting into the second month of the first quarter here. Thanks, Will, and very warm welcome to both of you. So we're just going to start off. I don't know how many people of you are new to Visionnet, but just a quick glance and a quick overview of who Visionnet is. So Visionnet has nearly 30 years, a little bit over 27 years experience in the industry. We started off as a systems integrator, but we ventured into all areas of technology, really. In digital, we operate in cloud, we operate in data and AI, as well as business process services. We have our headquarters, global headquarters in Cranberry, New Jersey, here in the United States. Although we have delivery centers, our European headquarters are based in London, United Kingdom. We have delivery centers in Munich and Berlin, as well as Singapore, South Africa now, and Sydney as well for the Pacific Ocean. We have a global workforce of over 8,000 employees, so we're a pretty large-scale company, although when you work with us, you will feel as your local nearby partner. And for now, we've serviced over 350 plus clients globally. So we've been a Salesforce partner, a little bit an overview here of Visionet's Salesforce practice. We've been a partner of Salesforce for nearly a decade now. It's a little bit over 8 years. And we've serviced over 100 successful projects so far with over 25 satisfied customers. So we've had a great customer satisfaction score, 4.9 out of 5, which we're very proud of. We're also very proud of our workforce. We have over 275 plus strong global Salesforce experts that work with us on our Salesforce practice. And within that group, we've received over 200 Salesforce certifications. So very skilled employee base there. We're going to move along here, and Michelle is just going to give you a little bit more detail here over the customer data platform, especially from a Salesforce perspective.
So I'm delighted to be here to represent Salesforce and our product, the Customer Data Platform, which got an incredible upgrade at Dreamforce this year in September with Genie. So now the CDP is real-time for real-time data, real-time analysis, and real-time actions. So the CDP allows you to connect all of your data sources in real time instead of in batches. This allows you to build intelligent real-time audiences faster than ever before and allows you to act on the insights and the data that you're getting back from the business even faster. And then you also can then share the data platform with advertising partners and others in our App Exchange ecosystem. So you can bring in new functionality that others in our Salesforce ecosystem have. And just to point out, Casey's General Store, which is a convenience store chain, mostly in the Midwest, when they implemented CDP with Genie, they were able to create their customer segments at 30 times the speed that they were previously. So really excited about this real-time capability. And now if we go in to the next slide, I'd like to talk about why this is important, right? Why do we need a CDP? What's changed? Well, we're in a new world, right? Post-pandemic, even as things, sort of return to normal, there are new pressing issues on consumers and the industry in general. One, there's still labor shortages in many industries, but especially retail and consumer goods. There's economic uncertainty, which is weighing heavily on consumer and executives' minds. We all have tighter budgets. Inflation is really starting to take a bite out of consumer spending, particularly for low-income consumers. And then we still have a supply chain crisis. It's gotten better, but in some cases, some retailers have too much inventory, which they're trying to move now. And in other cases, we still have shortages, particularly in consumer goods. So we are facing a lot of challenges both from the business side and the leadership side. And if we move on to the next slide, we also have a big challenge around consumer expectations. Even with all the things going on, customers are more picky and expect more from the businesses that they do business with. And the landscape in interacting with those customers has changed dramatically. So previously, we really only had mass communication and distribution channels to communicate with customers. Broadcast, mass emails, could only buy in the store, and maybe at the very nascency or birth of the internet, broad display ads to reach those consumers. Well, now we have a plethora of channels and ways to interact with our customers. You can offer them personalized coupons and promotions. We have e-commerce and the robust experience there that also needs to be aligned with your brick and mortar store in an omni-channel way. Customers expect 24/7 service, whether that's on the phone or through live chat. Everyone is thinking digital first, and then we have the capability of using AI to make our lives easier. And then the other thing about customer expectations is that we're living in a very unique time, right? There are 4 generations currently working and earning money. Baby boomers, many of them have retired, but still some are in the workforce, the younger generation. We have Gen X sort of taking on those leadership positions as baby boomers retire. We have the millennials, which is right now the largest cohort of working age people. And then we have Gen Z graduating and moving into their entry-level roles. You could also add a 5th generation with Generation Alpha, right? Young kids influencing their parents' spend. So we have 4 or 5 different generations, depending on how you want to count it, and they all have very different expectations from a shopping experience, right? My parents aren't buying anything off of Instagram, but my younger nieces and nephews are. So we have to really balance all of these consumer groups and understand their preferences for communication, for shopping, for merchandising, and it gets very, very complicated. So you add that, you have that as your base, and then according to our research, 73% of customers expect companies to tailor to really understand their unique needs, which again, I said is very complicated given the generations we have that are shopping, the different types of channels they can buy products in, the different ways they want to be communicated with. So very, very complex world today. And if we think about it on the next slide, we also see a lot of complexity in our businesses. We are more disconnected than ever, right? We have over almost 1,000 different applications to help run our business to meet all of these consumer needs. And then particularly what we've seen happen, and I think you all can relate to, is the consumers have multi-identities because they're using all of these different devices to interact with you. And then the data data that is generated, even with just consumer interactions, is siloed. And so you have all of this data, but it's in different places. And then we're facing sort of the end of the cookie. It's being phased out, at least for Chrome, is sort of the last big platform standing. And that's, it's been pushed back several times, but it's going to go away. Apple obviously took a big move in April of last year, or I guess 2021 now, to end sort of tracking through the apps. And so we are having to find our own first party data and understand our consumers that way. And then how do we bring that in and make it accessible to the appropriate teams? And again, really to reiterate just the importance of a great experience and understanding your consumers. According to our research, 1 in 3 customers will switch brands after just one bad experience. And we've done these studies over multiple years, and over the past 3 or 4 years, those expectations have just gotten higher. People are definitely more demanding, especially as they're watching their wallet. They really do expect the most for what they can get. And if we move to the next slide, this makes a very difficult environment for marketers. And what they're thinking about is how to be productive, efficient, and drive value. Because again, they're facing tighter budgets themselves. They also have headcount shortages and increased costs for many marketing channels. So they're really looking to understand how they can drive their efficiency with their budgets. How do they reduce acquisition costs, which have been climbing throughout the years? And then how do I unlock value with that data in order to be more efficient and drive value for the business as a whole? And so, Astrid, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Michelle, for all those insights. Fantastic. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into this topic here of a customer data platform, and especially organizing our data in a world where can sometimes be chaotic. And we're going to address it with our panel here today, both Michelle and Will. So I'm going to start off with you, Will, and especially when it comes to the use of data in today's world and the need for data in this world. How has it really changed in terms of, especially since COVID, how has the use of data in digital, but also in marketing, changed the last couple of years?
It's a fantastic question, Astrid, and thank you for including me and asking that to me. I think we all know that there's been some massive change in terms of e-commerce in general and really all industry because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But specifically, the complexity around data has been increased tenfold, if not more, exponentially increased in the complexity of data. We've seen a massive shift, as Michelle alluded to earlier. The number of applications and touch points that we're interacting with our customers is just skyrocketing. The shift in consumer behavior is changing. The amount of data available is just skyrocketing. We saw a huge shift into digital shopping at the beginning of the pandemic, where we saw anywhere from 20 to 40 to 50% growth in certain industries. Grocery and personal care up there around 40%, down in 30% for furniture and appliances and 20% for apparel. That didn't really go away. I mean, we saw it pull back a little bit over the last year or so, but the expectation that came with that change is now here to stay, right? So even if they're going back in store, they now have this expectation of an experience that really ties it all together. So now we have all this data, we have all these different touch points, siloed things. How the heck are we going to take care of it? How are we going to adapt and really leverage that to use it to our advantage for marketing and for customer experience and for our own business efficiency? So really, that's the challenge: is how are we going to use this digital data and the level of complexity around what we can do with marketing, with loyalty, and with the expectation of customers moving to curbside and contactless pickup, and all these great things. We really have to leverage our data now to produce that experience that's going to delight our customers. So there's been tons of changes. We could talk about this for hours, but I'll pause there. I really want to hear what Michelle's thoughts are, because I'm sure she's got a bunch with her input from the team at Salesforce.
Definitely. And I agree with everything that you said. And just the proliferation of touch points with consumers. So a lot of customer service migrated online now. We've seen an uptick in chatbot sessions, live chat as being a preferred communication tool. Anything you sell online generates a lot of questions like, where is my order? How do I do returns? So service has become more digitized as well because of the pandemic that we've seen with that uptick in e-commerce. And then other channels such as email and text SMS is gaining in popularity. So again, you're getting all of these ways to communicate with your customers and have that dialogue. And so there's just an explosion of data in so many different arenas that you can then use to offer a more personalized experience, or even in some cases, right, be more efficient if you can automate some of those customer service inquiries, automate your flows for communicating via text and email and push notification. So there's a lot more things to like wrap your head around.
Absolutely. Sure
Yeah,
is.
definitely. Thanks, Michelle, for those insights too. And Will, so we were talking about the use of data, but then there's also that need for being able to trust your data and your data sources. So, Will, if I can address with the question to you, how are organizations challenged in today's world with coming up with that single source of truth or that golden customer record, even after they've invested quite heavily in IT?
Yeah, I want to highlight that last point of that question really quick. After they've invested in IT, that's important, right? Everybody seems to have invested in digital transformations and new technologies over the last 5 to 10 years. Now is the time where, okay, we're on these platforms. Well, some of us are. Some of us haven't made that leap yet, but we're on these platforms. But how are we supposed to take advantage of these platforms? How are we supposed to really use the platforms to the best of their ability if our data is bad, right? And I think the answer to how do we do that is to get this golden customer record. But we just spent 10 minutes talking about all the challenges around data and around the complexity of today's world. So there's a lot. I mean, customer data is still siloed. Even if we've gone through these big digital transformations, that's just the process of moving over to new technology and digitizing some of our old antiquated offline systems. Sometimes people overlook the data aspect of that. Maybe you haven't gone through a digital transformation and you have legacy systems that don't integrate with your new platforms or don't have the ability to, consume the data that is out there today. The data is changing, right? We might make a change. We might build a data model if we're not using something like a CDP. If we're building a data model or a data warehouse and a data lake, we might build our schema and then the next day realize that, oh, the customer expectation has changed again, or, oh, there's a new channel, right? And now we have to go back and we have to make all these changes to our systems. So that's a challenge, right? That's a big investment if you need to continuously be making updates. And every time it's a big release, a big co-publish. In addition, we've added on this whole new level of complexity around data governance, right? The more data we have, the more governance we have, the more oversight we have to have, the more regulation we have to have, especially because we're seeing the government and our customers and their privacy become forefront of everything we do. Now we know that we need to follow GDPR and CCPA and all these other regulations that are making sure that we take our customers' privacy and their data very seriously. And that's going to make our data governance even more complicated. And then, that kind of leads into some of the things I already said, but the overall lack of a centralized data governance strategy. If your organization does not have that, then really this is going to be difficult. And if you're starting from scratch and you don't have any platforms like a CDP, but you might have all this data, you're trying to build up a data governance strategy is going to be pretty tough, which is why we might recommend moving over to something like a CDP, where you can layer your data governance and your data strategy onto that platform directly, as it will be your single source of truth and it will feed downstream for everything else. So I know that's a big jump, and there's a lot of steps in between, having nothing to all of that, but it is important, and it is going to solve a lot of these challenges for you long term. And I expect that the list of challenges I just went through is probably going to multiply by a factor of 3 to 5 over the next couple of years. So invest now. Make sure you get your data policies, your data governance, and your platforms ready now, because we're not expecting this to slow. Think about social commerce. Think about connected commerce and conversational commerce. All these new technologies, the metaverse, blockchain. These things are going to become mainstays of our retail and our overall industry. That's going to add even more complexity. So we don't want to be 5 years down the road and not have solved this challenge yet, and not be able to handle all the change that's coming. So lots of challenges, also a lot to look forward to. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Thanks for those insights. So, Michelle, if I can turn to you and speak a little bit about the real-time data usage, and especially when it comes to what we expect right now, when it comes to IT and marketing organization leveraging tools to allow for real-time data usage. In what way can the CDP help with that?
So Genie, the addition to CDP, allows for the real-time ingestion of data, so you know exactly what's going on with minimal lag. And I like to use an example to explain it. Casey's, for example, could see that someone's at the pump paying for their gas, and then in that moment, real time, send them a push notification through the Casey's app, offering them a personalized coupon, 20% off a coffee if that's what they like to drink because it's during the morning, to walk into that store and get that coffee. So that allows them to personalize that marketing right in the moment that it needs to happen, right? So when you're really looking at making a purchase, you're able to activate that using our real-time data. And so that's a really exciting innovation for us to sort of, think about personalization within the context of a transaction happening, not just necessarily sending the messages that are personalized to your profile. The other advantage of real time is that you have a real time look at how your marketing channels and creative are performing. So you can course correct much faster than you could before, because you know what's going on as soon as it happens.
Yeah, two very good points there. Sorry, Will, you wanted to chime in.
No, I was agreeing. That last bit is 100% true. Being able to see that real time and make your decisions and change on a dime is going to be important with everything that's changing and the complexity. So, yeah, I was mostly just agreeing.
Thanks, Will.
Right.
Welcome.
So just leveraging what you just said, Michelle, I think a lot of people here, maybe in the audience and a lot of organizations out there, they're pondering their heads and maybe thinking, what if I invested in a CRM already or in an analytics platform? Is it really worth it? Or why should I invest in a CDP? Should I invest in a CDP as well?
Well, I think you should, but obviously Salesforce's origins are as a CRM company. That's our stock ticker. CRM standing for Client Relationship Management Tool. And how I like to think about it is as a CRM is there to collect and aggregate data on one-to-one interactions that you have with your customers. So you'll have a customer profile, you'll know their transactions, maybe some service cases if you integrated that, a loyalty program status if you've integrated that, right? If you're able to use your CRM and bring some of the data sources there, that's like a view of your customer and active steps that they've taken to interact with you. A customer data platform, that CDP, is a much broader platform where it ingests lots of different types of data. So you could bring in clickstream data from your website. You could bring in weather data if, weather is a huge impact on your product category. So I'm in Chicago. What I need now is very different than what someone needs in Florida at the same time. So the customer data platform is ingests a lot of different data from a lot of different sources, and CRM is one of those sources, right, to build that source, that golden record, or that single source of truth. So CRM is an input into the CDP, but then the CDP gets you a much broader view of that customer behavior in order to automate, look at your create different audience segments, send out messaging in real time. So I like to think of CRM as a crucial data source for a CDP, but then you can build in a lot more into your CDP to drive revenue and lower costs.
And I'll chime in there. I think you said something that I thought was really interesting. It is broader. You get to see your consumer from a broader perspective with the CDP. You also get to see them from a much more granular perspective, right? The way I like to think about it, CRM is that it's tracking all of the explicit interaction that our customers have with the brand, going to a store, making a purchase, calling, chatting, things that they are intentionally doing and knowing that they're going to be interacting with the brand. Whereas CDP captures all these minute interactions that they're not thinking about, whether it's browsing, whether it's opening an app or not opening an app, right? Not interacting with the brand. That's something that the CDP is going to capture. Driving by a store, if you have the app and there's some location data shared with that app, all the stuff that they're not even thinking about. That's where the CDP is capturing all this additional data, and that's the really valuable stuff that we can take advantage of. The CRM, yeah, you're going to want to know all that, but the customer expected that 20 years ago, right? When Salesforce first launched it. Now the customer's expecting you to wow them on things that you can't get with CRM data. So you need that CRM data, absolutely, but you need everything else now too. Otherwise, you're just going to be providing the same experience that everyone else is. And I think we all want to be ahead of the curve.
Great.
Yeah.
That's exactly right, Will. Thanks for the addition.
Yeah,
no problem.
Staying ahead of competition. And when it comes to, so we talked about investments in IT, and we talked also about, the investment in a CDP. When it comes to actually measuring, and if I can address this to you, Will, is there a way to measure the return on the investment for a CDP?
That is a good question. And yes, I mean, the answer is yes, but it's very difficult. Not very difficult, but it's not direct. It's not a commerce platform. It's not a marketing platform where you can measure the success of a campaign, or you can measure your conversion rate and the amount of revenue that flows through your platform. It's not even a POS or an ERP where you have the retail transactions coming through. So everything that you do gain from it is going to be somewhat indirect. You're going to have to look at what are we impacting by implementing this piece of software. But there are a lot of things that are going to be impacted, and some which you might not have thought of. Yes, you are going to get better data, which is going to allow you to improve your targeting and improve your personalization, which in theory is going to help drive conversion rates, drive loyalty, drive engagement, drive all these great things. So one way to track is to look at the performance of your campaigns before and after you implement a CDP. Maybe set up your campaigns to leverage CDP campaign by campaign and track the differences as we go, A/B testing and changing things, changing data along the way. We are going to see that increase in customer lifetime value. So let's watch that grow. Let's make sure that our data is solid and that we're able to track that along the way. But a couple of areas where we maybe is a little bit harder to see is the efficiency. I think Michelle gave a really great example earlier. Getting to new customer segments and personalizations 30 times faster. Your efficiency and the money spent on your marketing budget is going to be you're going to save a lot. You're going to be able to spend less on your marketing campaigns, and you're going to be able to get there a lot faster. You're not going to wait for a lot of turnaround. You're not going to rely on data scientists to go in and run SQL queries that identify clusters in massive databases and to figure out what's the personalization segments that I need to identify. The CDP is going to do it all for you. So it's built this way, so it's going to increase that efficiency. And last but not least, or second to last but not least, data governance. I already talked about it a little bit, but having a CDP makes your data governance much, much simpler, right? You're worried about data governance in one single source of truth. the CDP is ingesting all this data. It is now your golden record. Everything that uses that data is ingesting it downstream. So if you need to make changes, when you're talking about your governance and the who has access to what, who can make changes to what, we're talking about all of that within the CDP. We're not talking about 50 different databases, 50 different applications, and the applications that they feed downstream. Now we're talking about one place. So your governance becomes much easier. And I think, again, Michelle mentioned this before, but increasing your data-driven decision-making, your time to market, and being able to pivot quickly, again, improving that time to getting your campaigns, measuring the value that you generate from moving quicker and making these changes, you're going to see a much higher ROI on your investment and your marketing investment, which you can track. I think we all track ROI and ROAS and all that as we go through our marketing campaigns on a daily basis. So track that over time, test it as you're implementing a CDP, roll it out bit by bit to make sure that it's having the impact you want, and you'll be able to visualize that. You'll be able to go to your management, your executives, and say, yeah, look, because of this implementation here, we have this new data that's going to add so much value, and here's why.
Great. Thanks so much for those insights, Will. Yeah, so we already touched a little bit upon here, and especially when it comes to the return of the investment, the benefits with the CDP. But if we can go a little bit further in, and maybe Michelle, I'll address it to you first, and we can elaborate a little bit on, you know, the ability to acquire new customers. And you touched upon it already, the personalization and the need and the ability to drive customer insights and look at their behavior, as well as channel optimization. There are numerous benefits, but if we can just highlight those to our audience here, it would be fantastic.
I think you captured a great deal of them, and so did Will in his previous answer. The one thing we didn't talk about where I see a CDP being very critical is with loyalty programs. Those are becoming table stakes from a consumer expectation. That's the number one response when we did surveys about what is the most important aspect of your favorite brand. And the number one response was it offers a loyalty program. And then we have on the business side, the need to do a loyalty program to gather that first party data. So that loyalty program data as a source of data in that CDP just offers a wealth of information that the customer gives to you that allows you to personalize things and think about maybe even merchandising decisions and really understanding your core customer in a better way. So when thinking about loyalty programs and how to activate that data that's given to them, especially for your best customers that you know are your best customers, the joint between the CDP and loyalty program is really important. And there's a lot of benefits to unlock there. Will, do you have things to add?
Yeah, I do. We talked about, you know, I think we mentioned it probably a few different times now, the efficiency gains, the improved, you know, campaigns and the targeting and personalization, the increased customer lifetime value and the data governance. I think a couple other areas that we didn't really touch on was our improved customer understanding. You know, I think we talked about how quickly we can get to this point, but we didn't really talk about why do we need that and how are we able to do that. So leveraging a CDP, now we're going to have a complete and more accurate view of our customers' behavior and their preferences. And we're going to have all these data sources such as web analytics, CRM, social media. That's going to help us just understand who our customers are better. And we're going to be able to make much better decisions because of it. So just knowing our customers better. It's no longer just let's talk about demographics, right? Like that's again antiquated. We don't need to talk about age and gender and geolocation and all this stuff. Now it's what are their preferences? What do they do in their free time? What social media apps are they using every day? Things like that. And that's, you know, what influencers do they follow and who's their favorite band? Like those are things now that we can take advantage of and we can start to leverage, which is a much more granular and much more personal experience for the customer. And then the other area that we mentioned it briefly, but I think it is very important and not to go without mentioning is customer service. Not only are we going to make the merchandisers and the product owners and our customers' lives easier and better because of this, we're going to make our customer service team lives a lot better, because they're now going to have a tool that integrates again with CRM. It's going to, not only is the CDP going to ingest CRM information, it's also going to allow the CRM to have real-time integrations back to the CDP for those other data sources. So your customer service agent's going to be able to have a breadth of information that they never had before. So when they get a call or a chat, or they're in a store and somebody comes in, they're going to know a lot more information about their customer very quickly than they ever did before. So now they're going to be able to identify better cross-sells and upsells products for them. They're going to be able to increase that customer satisfaction, increase loyalty. We talked about loyalty a lot, and we have seen that loyalty is dropping, right? Customers are shopping more and more brands. So being able to differentiate your experience is how you're going to capture and keep them there. So we need to make sure our customer service agents and sales agents are empowered with this information. So I think that probably exhausts all the different benefits. There's actually, no, it doesn't. There's many, right? There's probably 100 more, but those are the big ones. We can move on, I think, from that question.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bill, and Michelle as well. Those are great insights, and of course, really, really important to touch upon the benefits with the CDP platform. If we take it one step further and maybe move along in the presentation there, Will, if I can ask you, you wanted to go through with us a real, actually, user journey here for an omnichannel experience, and also how that has been how the customer benefited from the CDP.
Yeah, thanks, Astrid. I did. I wanted to take. We've talked a lot conceptually about a CDP, about customer data, about why it's important, about the benefits, about the challenges, right? We haven't really gone through all of the actual real world examples of why we need it, why it's valuable. So I wanted to put together a couple of user journeys, one from the customer perspective, and then another from the actual business perspective. So you can just start to see and ideate on how this is going to just make everything smoother, how the data is going to flow better, and how we're going to delight our customers and our internal customer, those people that are doing this daily and interacting with your external customers daily, how we're going to make their lives easier with all this data. So in this scenario, I've imagined myself as a customer who is really interested in a new phone case. Let's use new phone case as my use case here. I find, Amazon's not giving me the choices I want, so I want to go specifically to the brand website and really read and learn about the product. So I'm visiting their product. When I'm doing that, I'm visiting their site and looking at their products. While I'm doing that, the CDP, just like analytics, it's going to start collecting my customer search data. It's going to collect the actions I take on the site, the engagement, just like an analytics. We haven't started to really leverage the real power of the CDP yet, but it is doing some really important things at this level. Now the CDP is going to use that data, and it's going to create a personalized product recommendation for me. Yes, we have other products that can use personalized recommendations, but you don't have to use them anymore, because now we have a fantastic tool with access to all your data that can also do it. And they're going to display to me as the customer some recommended products that are displayed on the site. I'm going to decide, yeah, I want to buy this. I've read enough about it. Let's go ahead and purchase it. The CDP is going to collect, again, that data that while I'm purchasing and add it to my profile in the CDP. A few days later, the CDP is going to automatically send me a customer email saying, hey, how's your product? You want to leave a review? By the way, here's some other products that we know are going to be relevant to you because you bought that phone case. Maybe it's a wallet attachment for my phone case. Okay, so now you need to check out these. And also, we're going to prompt you to download our mobile app, because if you download our mobile app, there'll be some benefits, loyalty programs, other benefits, sales that other people might not have access to. So, being a smartphone user frequently, hundreds of apps on my phone, of course, what's another app? I'll download it, sure. Now I'm a little bit more engaged because I did need a new wallet. My old wallet's fallen apart, and I've always seen these new wallets that connect to your phone. Maybe they're a phone stand, but not. Yeah, let's check it out. Let's see what they have. So, but I need to try them out, right? I can't figure all this out from the website. So I'm going to go in store. And while I'm in store, while I'm on my way to the store, because I downloaded that app, the app's going to recognize if I've shared location that I'm getting close to a store, and they're going to say, oh, this person's about ready to head into a store. Let's hit them with a push notification with a personalized offer because they're close to the store. In the event that I haven't downloaded the app, most likely the CDP is capturing your device IDs or your MAC addresses or whatever else to know who you are and the devices that you're using. And maybe your store has a beacon set up to capture those device IDs as you walk through that door to do the same exact thing. Let's hit them with a push notification, or let's trigger and then give the information to the sales associate that's working. So now when I walk in the door, the gentleman or the lady at the desk knows, okay, this is Will. He just bought a phone case, and we hit him with an email about a wallet's attachments for the phone case not too long ago. That's a fantastic experience for me. Now I get to interact with them. They know all this stuff about me. I don't have to go through the whole history, and they're going to help me narrow down my product selection and make that experience just a lot better. So now, of course, I'm going to buy the wallet attachment, and the CDP is going to collect that again. Going to collect the visit to the store, the purchase information that I just made, and then of course I'm going to receive a personalized thank you email with more product recommendations as relevant, and maybe a special invitation to a VIP club based on my continued support of this brand or something other that this brand uses. So you can see throughout this journey that we're using multiple data touch points where we have multiple marketing automation built in. We have multiple campaigns and discounts and promotions that are built in, but it's all based on that data being in the CDP. And really, once that data is in the CDP, everything we did here, basically out of the box functionality. You're not doing too much customization. This is a very easy and kind of standard journey that's done. Yeah, you can do it with all the other platforms that exist out there. It's just going to be a lot of work because you're going to need 3 or 4 different platforms all integrated with a really, really great data structure and data model to support it. So this is just one example of how CDP is going to make it much easier. Now, that's the value to the consumer, right? But what about from the brand side? How does this help me as a brand? We talked about efficiency. We talked about knowing your customer better. But what else can it do for me? Well, let's say we're a new organization that makes phone cases and wallet attachments for a phone. We're going to implement a CDP because we want to start to really narrow down our source of truth and create a single source of truth for our customer, that golden record. The CDP is going to start collecting data immediately. It's going to collect data from multiple websites, apps, social media, purchase histories of our customers, other interactions that we have access to. Now we're going to say, okay, CDP, start analyzing our data, give us some insights. What is the behavior that we need to be paying attention to? And the CDP is going to say, oh, by the way, a significant portion of your customers seem to be interested in eco-friendly products. And it doesn't appear as though you knew this before. So, hey, this has been done for us with the AI and ML that's built into CDP, identifying these trends that are happening. So we're going to then use that data, and we're going to say, okay, great. Now we know that a lot of our customers care about eco-friendly products. So what phone cases are made with recycled material? What phone cases are biodegradable, don't have a shelf life of 100+ years? Things like that. What phone cases have good social clauses that they'll donate a fraction of the sale to because of it? All of these things very important now so we're going to use that data, and we're going to create that segment. And now we're going to send them targeted emails because of this, promoting these products. Now, based on the organization now is going to see a pretty big increase in sales of eco-friendly products because we just hit a group of people who we know are interested in eco-friendly products with a bunch of eco-friendly products that they're already our customers, or we know that they're have interacted with our brand, so they're interested. And we just triggered one of their main things. They're environmentally conscious folks, so they're going to be engaged when we send this information. Because of the success of this campaign, we're going to continue to do that. We're going to say, okay, what are the other segments that we have? And we're going to allow that CDP to continue to analyze our data and identify other segments. This is going to allow us to get new information that can help us create, again, more personalized segments. It's also going to help us identify what products do we need to manufacture or build? Where are we missing our target audience with the product offering that we have? It's going to allow us to set up better marketing campaigns. It's going to allow us to maybe We need to go find vendors and suppliers for new product lines that if we're not manufacturing them, we need to sell them. And it's going to tell us, okay, here's our loyal customers. Now let's go and make sure we keep those loyal customers. And then let's convert our other customers and turn them into loyal customers. So you can see now the value that the business had in having a CDP, and all of this was basically done for the business. They didn't have to do too much. They got told, here's your customers and their interests and what they're interested in. And it was pretty obvious that once you get told that, now let's go create some personalized marketing, which the CDP is going to trigger with your marketing automation. So you'll set up a couple campaigns, and that's really it. So you see the value to the business, you see the value to the customer. Again, these are very basic, kind of starter journeys for a CDP. You can get much more complex, and we'd love to help you build out those complex user journeys. But in the interest of time, I won't bore you with all those today. But how are we going to get there? We talked about the challenges with customer data already. And now let's talk about, well, what are the challenges that we're going to face if we don't have a CDP? I think we've mentioned some of these already, so apologies for being redundant, but we're not going to be managing our customer data effectively. We're going to have difficulty in creating that the single view of the customer, right? We're going to have all these siloed systems. We're going to have, a very big data warehouse or data lake, and we're going to have a data model that's going to have to be continuously updated. And we're going to limit our ability to analyze that customer data. Or if we want to analyze it at the same level that a CDP is, we're going to have to add in additional tools to do that, right? Whether it's new AI ML models from the big vendors or creating our own, right? We're not going to be able to leverage that data out of the box with cross-channel marketing. Yes, you can do it, but again, going to require more integration, going to require more time to get there. With a CDP, Salesforce CDP, you're going to hook directly into Salesforce Marketing Cloud. You're probably going to be able to hook into other marketing automation tools, even if it's not Salesforce, right? And start to trigger automation that way. And the same for other marketing automation platforms beyond email and SMS, your social and many other applications that you're just not going to be able to take advantage of it as easily as you will be with a CDP. We're going to not be able to respond to customer needs. I talked about the customer needs with eco-friendly products. We talked about the customer service agent having more information. If you don't have that information, if you don't know that information about your customer, well, you're just missing out. It's going to be a poorer experience. You're not going to sell as much because your customers aren't going to be as engaged with your brand. We're not going to be able to track lifetime value and measure our customers' lifetime value over time as easily. Yes, again, you can do it. There's always a way to do it by building and customizing, but we're trying to identify a quick and cheaper and effective way to get there rather than having to piece together 10, 15 different applications and data sources to get that information. Which means it's going to be harder for us to retain our high value customers, right? We're not going to know what their needs are. We're not going to know what their pain points are, and we're not going to be able to track their overall value. So we can't personalize for them as well as we could. And then we're not going to use our data and our resources. That one's fairly straightforward. One that I'll talk about in the next slide that's very important. We're not going to be able to comply as easily with data privacy regulations, right? I mentioned this at the beginning a little bit, but without a CDP, without a single source of truth, you're going to be worried about a lot of different data sources, a lot of different areas where you're keeping your data records, and updating that and maintaining that is going to be tough. With CDP, not as much. And we are going to limit our ability to integrate with other systems. So yes, that means if you have 5 different platforms all collecting product data or customer data and storing that data as the point of truth, that means that if you want to integrate with a new system, you have to integrate that new platform, that new product, that new MarTech application with 5 different systems as feeding instead of just one. So it's really going to limit your ability to do that efficiently. I do want to drill down into the data governance and the customer privacy really quick. I think this is very important because this is only going to get more strict. We saw GDPR a few years ago, actually probably a little more than that now. We saw CCPA 2-3 years ago that are really starting to drive regulation here. Now we're seeing even more in Europe the need for you to own your data. Even things like Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics are no longer going to be allowed in certain countries because they store your customer data in their data centers in the cloud that could be in the US when you're in France, right? So owning your data having it stored where you need it is going to be imperative as part of these. And that's just an example of how it's changing and evolving. We expect more of this to come, in all parts of your retail and customer data. So how are we going to handle that? Well, a CDP is definitely one big step in the right direction. As I mentioned before, makes your data governance a lot easier. It's going to make your data masking and anonymization a lot easier. So that means we're going to be able to leverage this data and do things with it, but we're not going to put the customer data at risk. We're going to be able to do it anonymously. So personal identification and information, PII, is not going to be leveraged or used. So it'll protect against your data breaches and unauthorized access. It's going to make the component of the rights of your consumers to have their data scrubbed from your brand a lot easier. Instead of going 5, 10 different platforms to erase all records of a customer, now you have to go to one, and it's going to feed everything downstream. Accessing the data and running audits on it is, again, going to be a lot easier because you're going to one system instead of many. Additionally, most of these data CDP platforms are going to have data encryption out of the box. So you're going to have this information secure and encrypted. That's going to protect against data breaches and unauthorized access. And finally, privacy by design. The CDP is going to be designed with the data privacy in mind, so you don't have to worry about that when you're setting up your strategy and your data model, which you would have to if you're building it all yourself. So let's talk very quickly. I know we're running up on time, probably because I get a little bit wordy, but let's talk really quickly about the benefits of Salesforce specifically and their CDP that we've seen. At Visionnet in implementing for our customers the CDP, we're seeing this value over some of the other competitors out there. Seamless integrations. Again, I mentioned it's going to integrate out of the box with almost all of the Salesforce clouds, or I should say all the Salesforce clouds, allowing you to get this up and running very quickly if you're on Commerce Cloud, if you're on Marketing Cloud. But even if you're not, it's going to allow, they have a massive market of, or community, I should say, which I call out later in this little chart, but I'll mention it now. They have a massive community with pre-built, integrations into all of their clouds. So even if you're not using Marketing Cloud or you're not using Commerce Cloud, more than likely somebody else is doing the same thing as you are, and that has already been built and integrated. It's going to have robust data management. So all of this stuff from data governance and management capabilities, privacy and security and quality is going to be taken care of with the Salesforce CDP. Advanced analytics, big topic we've seen over the last few years. People want that data science and the advanced analytics and predictive analytics. These are things you're going to get deep insights into your customer behaviors and preferences and be able to forecast out based on that. Again, personalization and segmentation is going to be huge. I think we've hit that one pretty hard already. Built-in machine learning, which is going to be the tool that does some of the segmentation and the identification of the behavioral insights and whatnot of your customer. And then last but not least, it's a cloud-based platform. We don't have to worry about on-prem data. We don't have to worry about our own data centers and our own SOC compliance and all this stuff. Salesforce is going to handle that for us. So it makes getting live a lot faster and easier. It makes our IT and security teams lives a lot easier too. There are some unique features on the platform as well that we think are worth calling out here. The data integration I already spoke about, so I won't bore you with that. The real-time data processing, the Genie that Michelle was talking about earlier, is huge. Having that real-time in and out is going to be super powerful for your brand, being able to interact quickly, to automate actions quickly, and to pivot quickly depending on what you need to do, whether it's from a customer service or a sales perspective, is going to be huge. The customer personalization and segmentation on their platform is second to none. It's going to allow you to do all of this great stuff basically out of the box from day one, segmenting and personalizing experience from on-site with Commerce Cloud to marketing emails to social interactions and whatnot. And then last but not least, I mentioned this, but platform agnostic. You do not have to be on any Salesforce cloud to take advantage of CDP. You can launch it on its own. It'll integrate with your CRM or with your commerce platform or your marketing automation platforms, basically right out of the box. Not out of the box, I shouldn't say that. That's a little bit too aggressive of a word, but they're agnostic. So you can do it, and somebody else will most likely have already done that in integration. So we as a system integrator at Visionnet will be able to take advantage of that and get you live very quickly. And then last but not least, I want to talk about how do we get there, right? We talked about all this great stuff. We talked about challenges. We talked about the benefits, the ROI. But how are we going to get there? If I don't have a CRM, or if I have a CRM, but it might not be integrated to my entire business ecosystem, how do I get to a point where I have a CDP, full-blown CDP launched that's powering my marketing automation, that's powering my CRM, that's powering my customer service? It's a lot of steps. This could be a little overwhelming. Well, it's okay. It's not that bad. And it's definitely an area where we can help you. But here is a kind of a roadmap or a journey for you. If you want to go through that journey, follow these steps. It's going to help you identify where, as a business, you need to spend a little bit more time getting prepared, make some investments. It's also going to help you with your overall strategy. So if you're ready to go, if some of these things are already ironed out on your side, get started. Call us, call Salesforce, call an SI and say, let's get a CDP, Salesforce CDP going. So let's start with defining your objectives and goals. I think we've given you enough ideas today to jog some creative minds and get some ideas and goals and KPIs that might be valuable to your consumer, whether it's lowering your IT spend because you can get rid of some of the other applications, increasing your ROAS and your ROI on your marketing campaigns, driving conversion and loyalty and all that stuff. Assess your current data landscape. This is going to be really important and probably not fun, especially if you're a large organization, but you really need to understand where your current data landscape is, because to create this new data model and all that, you're going to want to get rid of all the extraneous noise and complexity. So now's the time to go and analyze that, get it all documented, and then come up with a plan to migrate. Define your data strategy. That includes your governance and your security. So make sure that all that's taken into account. But have a data strategy. Don't just go into this thinking that it's a set it and forget it. I don't have to do anything. It's not that. It doesn't take a lot to manage it, but you are going to want to have a data strategy. And then start to identify and prioritize use cases. What can you take advantage of right away that you have already ongoing, whether it's marketing automation or customer service or social. Identify those high priority ones and use those as your use case to show ROI for the platform. I spoke about that earlier. Explore potential vendors. We might not be the best vendor for you. Salesforce may not be the best CDP for you. We sure hope it is, and we want to show you that it can be, regardless of what your industry is, regardless of what your vertical is. But this is going to be very important, because unless you want to do it all yourself, some people can. And, if you can, more power to you. I mean, that's fantastic. But if you can't, start reaching out to vendors, start ideating. Most of them are going to offer you, a workshop or something. That's what we're going to offer you at the end of this call today. Let's talk about it. And then plan for your data integration. How long is this going to take? Who's going to be responsible for it? You have all of your data documented now from our step earlier, but figure out what's going to be integrated to the CDP. What are all the data sources? And then start. And then last but not least, test and iterate. Very important. You test it and you iterate. You don't just set it up again, set it, forget it. You need to be improving and innovating along the way. Iteration. We are much more bigger proponents of the test and iterate than the big bang approach. It's going to provide you a lot more value long term. And then it's kind of duplicative, but once you're live, you've tested and iterated and you've got everything live, make sure you're continuously monitoring. That goes back to your data strategy a little bit, but continuously monitor and improve. Look for what you can do to innovate. How can you push the needle? We'll help you with that. I'm sure Salesforce has a team that can help ideate and strategize on some of that as well. So more than happy to help you push the needle forward with some of the more innovative use cases that might be out there. That's the end of the presentation. So the only thing we wanted to do next was tell you about, hey, thank you for sitting through this. I know it was long. We went over by 3 minutes. I'm sorry. We do want to hear your questions if there are any. So I know Ashford's gonna go through those right now real quick. But please take advantage of the free workshop we're going to offer you. Give us a call or email us or friend myself on LinkedIn or Ashford on LinkedIn, and we'll get you set up with a workshop. We'll go through some of the business objectives. We'll talk about your data. We'll talk about the process and all that stuff, and we'll help you figure out if this is the right thing for you. Ashford, do we have any questions that we can answer? Michelle and I can answer before we log off for the day.
Yeah, so thanks so much for those insights, Will. That was super useful and very helpful, I think, for our audience to understand. We do have one question here, which is how long is the onboarding process? So we talked a little bit about, how to implement the CDP, but just in terms of the actual onboarding.
Well, in terms of the project itself, it's going to vary, and I hate to say that. I hate to take the easy answer, but it depends on the complexity again of your data, of the size of your organization, the amount of systems that you're going to be integrating into your platform. But you could expect that depending on the complexity, you could be live within a month, depending on how many different data sources, sometimes even faster. You could also expect if you have hundreds, even more data sources, that maybe you don't have all of those on day one. You do it iteratively, like I mentioned before. You get some live in a month, you start to take advantage of it, and then over time, you just integrate more and more of them. In terms of training and leveraging, again, it's going to be fairly straightforward once you've done it and integrated it. It's going to be, less code and more point and click to get different campaigns and different things live. So the learning curve is pretty quick here. And again, we are always here to help. So that I would say after you've gotten it live, a couple weeks of getting your feet wet and really going through some demos and some guided things. Salesforce has tons of resources to help you on their what's it called? Trailhead? Is that
Yep.
forgetting
Trailhead.
Okay, I always forget the name when I'm speaking like this, but there's tons of resources, and then of course we are willing to help and provide that consulting guidance to help. But it's not a 6 to 9 to year-long project like some platforms are. You really want to do it iteratively because you can get live with one data source and start to take advantage if that's going to be enough for your you to use something useful and beneficial off of it.
Great. Thanks so much, Will.
Awesome.
So yeah, I just wanted to reiterate here the slide that we have in front of us. So to our audience, so anyone, feel free to reach out to us. We have our email there at the bottom, sales@visionnet.com, and do get in touch for this free 2-hour workshop that we're offering. It's going to give you a lot of insights, and maybe you will move forward to the next step, or maybe you won't, but at least it will give you that reassurance that you're making the right decision for your organization. And I would also like to thank our panel, Will Vinton and Michelle Grant, here today for all of the insights that you've given us. It was really, really helpful and very, very useful too. And we hope that our audience has enjoyed this session as well. And again, any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And we look forward to hearing from you very soon. So thank you, everyone.
Astrid.
What?
The hostess with the, I said, and thank you, Astrid, the hostess with the mostest.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks to everyone.
Michelle.
And have a great afternoon. Yeah.
Spending time with you all.
Bye,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.